And I was like, boom, bingo, that's it. Guys, hello, my name is Maritza. Thank you so much for joining me today and returning to this channel. Thank you so much for subscribing and hitting the bell button. I grabbed a little bit of coffee. I need a little pick-me-up. I'm 3 weeks away from giving birth. I'm about to pop, and I really want to take this time to record some videos for you guys about topics that I believe are very important when it comes to marriage. It's time to get to work because it takes work to be better, to evolve and transform ourselves into who we want to become and who we want to be today, right now. So let's refresh, renew, and recharge. Get your cup of coffee or some tea, and let's get to work. So today there are 3 things that I want to talk to you guys about that I believe are so important when it comes to being married to a narcissist. If you do not know what a narcissist is, first of all, calling someone a narcissist, I want you to know that it's a descriptive term. We're describing behaviors, and it's behaviors like grandiosity, lack of empathy, lack of insight, not being able to emotionally connect with us women, a man who is entitled, who is manipulative. It gaslights us and denies our reality. Those are all the behaviors of a narcissist. I am married to someone that has for many years shown those behaviors. And although it's gotten better, our marriage has gotten way better, and he's becoming more empathic and more intentional about how he treats me through a lot of prayer and seeking the Lord. It has not been easy, but so far we are doing okay. Now, 3 things that I want to talk about. Number 1, the inner dialogue. We all have an inner dialogue. You have an inner dialogue. What is this inner dialogue that I'm talking about? You speak to yourself. You talk to yourself on a daily basis. What do you talk to yourself about? You talk to yourself when you're going to go put up a cup of coffee, or when you're going through the motions of your day, what your day is going to look like. We talk to ourselves, but something happens when we have an argument with our spouse, and that inner dialogue is intersected by, why does he treat me this way? Why can't he see me? Why can't this be enough? Why can't things change? Can't he see that I'm trying? I'm trying my best. And that inner dialogue leads to something else, which I call, it's the second thing that I want to talk to you guys about. I call it the loop. We begin to go through this loop in our minds, and we start playing it out over and over again. And it begins to transition into rumination, and we fixate on, why am I not enough? Why this? Why that? But I think I'm good. I'm a good wife. Why can't he love me the way that I want to be loved? Why can't he be empathic? Why can't he understand? And leave your comments below if you know what I'm talking about, because sometimes I feel like I'm alone in this. And sometimes, in the past years, I would be stuck in this loop for days, for weeks. And it was never ending, but I knew that I had to break that pattern. I had to break it. And one of the things that I did whenever I caught myself in that loop and in that negative inner dialogue was, although it was true what I was thinking. It was true. The things that I was telling myself were valid, and I'm here to validate you. It is true. He shouldn't be insensitive to your feelings. He shouldn't laugh. He shouldn't be sarcastic. He shouldn't be demonstrating so much lack of empathy towards your pain or toward a situation that you guys are going through. But it is our reality, and we have to accept what is, especially when we have chosen to stay. How do we break that loop? We need to be practical. We pray, we intercede for ourselves, and we, instead of saying, why can't he love me? Why can't he understand me? God, you understand me. God, you validate me. God, you know my heart. God, you know what I'm feeling. I know what I'm feeling. It is wrong. However, I decide to stand up, and at that moment, take a shower, go for a walk. Let's be practical. One of the things that works for me is taking a shower, refreshing myself and saying, you know what, Maritza, you got to get up. You got to get up. You have kids to tend to. You got things to do. You have many goals to accomplish. You know, life does not end there. It just continues. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to take a sip. And the third thing that I want to talk about, which leads to this idea that we need to take back the control and minister to ourselves, is the reality. We need to face this third point that I'm about to make. We cannot control our husbands. We cannot control their behavior. We cannot control how they respond to us. But you know what we can control? We can control how we respond to them, how we respond to the gaslighting, how we respond when they try to deny our reality, but we know that it's true. We need to stop seeking so much validation. And that's what happens often. And I saw myself in that position 3 years ago, where I felt like I needed so much validation because there was a part of me that little girl was still there, waiting and seeking for validation from a man. It wasn't until I had a conversation with one of my cousins, and he said something that it just woke me up, and it made me realize something that I had not known, and maybe something that is already in you, but you haven't tapped into it yet. And he asked me, how can you be married to someone knowing that he is narcissistic, that he is a narcissist? And I told him, I love myself, and I no longer need for him to tell me that he loves me. I love myself. And his response to that was, so you're enough for you. And I was like, boom, bingo, that's it. You know what? I'm enough for myself. And it was from that moment on that I was like, you know what? That is so true. I'm enough for me. I know that I'm bright. I know that I'm smart. I know. And I started ministering to myself and calling out all those beautiful qualities about me. I want you to do that today. I want you to call out all those beautiful qualities about you. You know, you're bright, any hobbies that you are fascinated about, talents, gifts. You need to call those things out, and you need to validate yourself. You are enough for you. And you know what? God is with you, and God is more than enough to cover a multitude of sins, a multitude of imperfections, a multitude of sadness, and he can consume you with his peace and his love. So right now, today, if you are caught in an inner dialogue where you're spiraling out of control and you're stuck in that victim space, there's a victim space that we tend to go through, although we are victims, but we cannot remain there. We cannot, continue to pat ourselves and say, poor me, he doesn't treat me well. Call things for what they are. Accept the truth. Yes, he's not treating you the way that you should be treated. Yes, he's not validating you. Yes, he's not being empathic. He's, whatever the case may be. Accept things, for what they are. Accept the truth, but don't stay there. Don't transition into that never-ending loop that is keeping you depressed, and it's keeping you in a state of complete paralysis where you can't even move. You can't even, I couldn't even produce a video for you guys. And that's the truth. That's how bad I felt. That's how, I would cry before I would produce a video. And it was so hard for me to get in front of the camera and talk about my problems, talk about my sadness, talk about my emotional numbness and all that stuff. But I did it anyways, and I pushed through. And that's what I'm asking. I'm asking that of you today. You need to push through that inner dialogue, switch it, change it to, you know what? I feel sad, but God, you give me joy. You give me joy. And I decide today, I choose myself. I love myself. I will lift myself up. I'm going to get up. I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to put some makeup on, put some perfume, whatever the case may be, whatever makes you happy, whatever gives you joy, whatever makes you feel alive. And get yourself out of that loop and understand that, you know what? You have control over yourself. You have control over your behaviors and what you do. You have control over how you look at yourself in the mirror and how you speak to yourself, and the things that you say them. Start saying them out loud, even if you sound insane. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? You're beautiful. You're smart. You're bright. You have ideas. You have creativity. There are many plans that God has for you. You need to speak to yourself, guys. So thank you so much for listening today. So keep those 3 things in mind. Switch that inner dialogue. Break out of that loop that we find ourselves in many days, weeks, months at a time. And no longer try to control your husband. Know that you can control you. We have control over ourselves and we have dominion. God calls us to govern ourselves. He gave us dominion and he gave us the power of self-discipline. So I urge you to move toward that dominion that God has given you. And let's live a blessed life. So let's refresh ourselves, renew our minds, recharge ourselves with the word of God, and continue to push forward. Thank you so much for tuning in. Subscribe to this channel. Leave the comments down below. Let me know if there's anything here in this video that touched your heart, that moved you, that resonated with you. I am looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.